The Golden Boy's Secret. Many years ago, in my family, there were two sons. My brother Liam was the son. He was bright, warm, and everyone always turned their faces toward him to see him shine. And I was the moon. I was quiet, and I only seemed to be visible when he was not around. I spent most of my life living in his very large and very bright shadow. Liam was older, smarter, and more confident than me. He was the captain of the football team. He received all the academic awards. He was the golden boy of our family. His trophies filled the shelves in our living room. My parents' conversations were always filled with his latest achievements. Liam did this, and Liam said that. I was just Tom. I was the quiet younger brother. My own small successes were like whispers in a loud room. They were often overlooked or completely ignored. It was not that I hated my brother. I loved him, but I was tired of being invisible. I was tired of being a footnote at the bottom of the page of his amazing story. I felt like I was watching my own family from behind a piece of glass. I was there, but I was not really a part of the main event. The main event was always Liam. This feeling was strongest during our Sunday family dinners. It was a weekly tradition. It was the time for everyone to share news about their week. My news was always small. A good grade on a test or a book I enjoyed reading. My stories were short and simple, and they usually ended with a polite, distracted nod. But when Liam spoke, the entire room went silent. Everyone leaned forward to listen. His stories were always exciting. They were about victories, challenges, and success. He had a natural charisma that I did not possess. He could make a simple story sound like an epic adventure. My parents would look at him with so much pride in their eyes. I would just sit there pushing my food around on my plate. I learned that it was easier to be quiet than to compete for a small moment of their attention. I had accepted my role in the family. I was the supporting character. It was not a happy role, but it was a familiar and predictable one. I thought it would never change. But one Sunday, the predictable story took an unexpected turn. The perfect sun in our family sky showed its first sign of a dark spot, and only I seemed to notice it. We were all sitting at the dinner table. Liam had just started telling a story about a difficult project at his university, but his voice was not confident. He seemed distracted. His words were a little bit hesitant. He kept looking down at his phone, which was on his lap under the table. This was not like him at all. No one else seemed to notice the change. My mother just smiled and told him how brilliant he was. My father patted him on the back. They saw only their perfect son. But I saw something else. I saw a small crack in the perfect mask he always wore. From my place in the shadows, I had become a very keen observer of my brother. He finished his story quickly and then excused himself from the table. He said he had a headache and needed to rest. This was another strange thing for him to do. I watched him walk out of the room. The conversation at the table continued without him. It was as if he had never left, but his absence felt very loud to me. Later that evening, I walked past his room. The door was closed, but I could hear him pacing back and forth inside. It was the sound of a trapped and nervous animal. My curiosity was stronger than my usual habit of staying away. I knocked softly on his door. The pacing inside stopped immediately. "Go away, Tom," he said. His voice was sharp and stressed. It did not have its usual warmth. This only confirmed my suspicion that something was seriously wrong with him. I did not go away. I opened the door a little and peeked inside. He was standing by his window, looking out into the darkness. His back was to me. "Everything okay?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. I was expecting him to get angry and tell me to leave him alone. That was the usual script for us. He did not turn around. "Yes, everything is fine," he said, but his voice was not convincing at all. "Just tired. Go back to your room." "You don't look tired, Liam," I said, stepping into the room. "You look scared." That word made him turn around to face me, and I was right. In his eyes, I saw an emotion I had never seen there before. Pure, undisguised fear. His perfect mask was completely gone. In its place was the face of a young man who was lost and terrified. He looked like he was carrying a very heavy secret. "What do you know about anything?" he snapped at me. He was trying to be angry, but the fear in his voice was much stronger than the anger. He was trying to push me away. "I know that you have been acting strange all week," I replied calmly. "And I know that whatever is wrong, it is big. Bigger than a simple headache." He stared at me in silence for a long moment. It felt like he was seeing me for the first time, not as his little brother, but as another person. Maybe he realized that I was the only person who had noticed his pain. The parents who adored him were completely blind to it, but I, the shadow, had seen the truth. He walked over and closed his bedroom door quietly. He leaned his back against it with a deep sigh. He looked completely defeated. "You cannot tell Mom and Dad," he said, and his voice was almost a plea. "You have to promise me you will not say a word about this to anyone." "I won't," I said, and I meant it. In that moment, a strange feeling of loyalty washed over me. It was not about him being the golden boy, it was about him being my brother. He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture of pure anxiety. "I messed up, Tom," he whispered, his voice full of shame. "I really, really messed up." He told me the story. It was about a bad investment he had made with his student loan money, a guaranteed opportunity that had turned out to be a complete scam. He had lost all of the money, money that was supposed to be for his final year of university, money that our parents had worked so hard to save for him. He was deep in debt, and the people he owed money to were not very patient. They were calling him every day. He was trapped, and he did not see a way out. He had been trying to fix it alone. He did not want to tarnish his perfect image. He did not want to disappoint our parents. The secret was eating him alive. "I don't know what to do," he said, finally looking at me. "I have never failed at anything in my life. I don't know how to handle this kind of situation." I just listened. For the first time, I was the one who was calm, and he was the one who was falling apart. The roles we had played for our entire lives were suddenly reversed. He was not the son anymore. He was just a scared man who had made a very big mistake. He was human, he was vulnerable, and he was my brother. I did not feel any happiness about his failure. I did not feel any satisfaction that the golden boy had finally fallen. I only felt a deep and surprising empathy for him. He looked at me with his desperate, frightened eyes. The silence in the room stretched on. He was waiting for me to say something. To judge him, maybe, but I did not judge him. I saw an opportunity. Not an opportunity to be better than him, but an opportunity to finally stand next to him as an equal. He had always been the one to solve problems. He was the one with all the answers, but now he was lost. And for the first time, he was asking for directions. He looked at me, and his perfect mask was completely gone now. He took a shaky breath and said the 6 words I had never heard from him before. "I think I need your help." Those 6 words hung in the air between us. "I think I need your help." It was a phrase I never, ever thought I would hear from my perfect older brother. The world had shifted on its axis. A strange new feeling washed over me. It was not the feeling of pride or any kind of satisfaction. It was a powerful sense of purpose. I felt truly needed for the very first time. "Okay," I said, and my voice was surprisingly calm and steady. "Let's fix this together. Show me everything, all the papers, all the messages. We need to see the whole problem clearly." He looked at me, completely surprised by my calm reaction. He probably expected me to be shocked or to panic, but his panic was enough for both of us. We needed a plan. He gathered all the necessary documents from his desk. We sat on the floor of his room until late into the night. It was the first time we had ever worked together as a team. The problem was very bad, but it was not impossible to solve. I do not have his natural charisma, but I do have a logical mind. I see small details that he often misses. I explained that we did not need to tell our parents the whole truth. That would only cause them unnecessary pain and disappointment. We just needed a practical solution. My plan was straightforward and had 3 simple steps. First, he would have to sell some of his expensive things, the things that were symbols of his easy success. This included the fancy watch our uncle gave him, his expensive gaming computer, and his new mountain bike. These sales would cover most of the debt he was in. Second, I told him I would give him all of my own personal savings. It was not a lot of money compared to his debt, but it was everything I had. It was my investment in us. And third, for the final amount, we would ask our parents for a small loan. We would create a believable story about a special university program he needed to pay for. Liam listened to my entire plan with wide, astonished eyes. He had been so lost in his own fear that he could not see a clear path. I was giving him a map out of the dark woods. He looked at me with uncertainty still on his face. "Do you really think this will work, Tom?" he asked. His voice was quiet, full of a new and very fragile hope he was afraid to trust. "Yes," I said with a strange confidence that surprised even me. "It will work perfectly, but we have to do it together. We have to be smart and very careful." And so our secret project began. For the next 2 weeks, we became partners. We were a secret team of 2, working together to fix his terrible mistake. We spent many late nights in his room, selling his things online. I wrote the descriptions and handled the communication. He was the one who took the photos of the items. It was a strange experience seeing him part with his prized possessions. Each object was a small symbol of his perfect life, and he was letting them go without hesitation. During those long nights, we started to talk more than ever before, not just about the problem we were solving, but about everything, our lives, our hopes, and our fears. I saw a side of him that I never knew existed before. I saw his vulnerabilities, his insecurities, and his deep regret. He was not just the golden boy, he was human. And in return, he started to see me in a completely new light. He saw that I was capable, organized, and calm under pressure. He listened to my ideas with genuine respect. The invisible wall that had always stood between us slowly started to come down. In its place, we built a new, fragile bridge, a bridge made of trust and shared secrets. The plan was working just as I had predicted. The money from all the online sales started to come in. We hid it all in an old shoebox under his bed. We were getting closer. Finally, we had enough money to pay off most of the debt. Now came the final and hardest part of our plan. We had to lie to our parents to get the rest of the money. Liam was terrified of this part of the plan. He was not a good liar because he never had to be. He was afraid they would see the truth and the shame in his eyes. "I can't do it, Tom," he told me one night, his voice full of despair. They trust me completely. I cannot stand in front of them and lie directly to their faces. You are not lying to hurt them, I told him, trying to keep him strong. You are lying to protect them from a pain they do not need to feel. We are fixing this. That is what matters. I helped him practice the story over and over again until it sounded natural. I gave him the confidence he needed. I told him I would be standing right there with him for support. The next day we went to them together to ask for the money. Liam told the story about the special university program. His voice was a little shaky, but he did it very well. Our parents, as always, were just incredibly proud of his ambition. They did not question the story for a second. They were happy to help him achieve his new goal. That same afternoon, we went to the bank and paid off the final part of the debt. It was over. The heavy weight of his secret was finally gone forever. Liam's relief was so deep that he just sat on his bed in complete silence for a long time. He had fixed the biggest mistake of his life, but he had not done it all by himself. He had done it with the help of his invisible younger brother. The dynamic between the two of us was now permanently changed. Nothing would ever be the same again. That evening he came into my room. He did not knock on the door. He just opened it and stood there looking at me. "Thank you, Tom," he said, his voice full of sincere emotion. "I'm sorry," he said after a quiet moment. I asked him what he was sorry for. "I'm sorry I never really saw you before," he explained. "I was blind. You are a great brother." That was the moment that my own healing began. It was the moment I finally understood I did not need trophies on a shelf. I just needed to be seen by my brother. Our secret project had saved him from his financial problem, but it had also saved me from the loneliness of his shadow. It gave me a new place in our family. The next Sunday dinner, we had felt completely different. Liam started telling a story just like he always did, but this time he looked at me across the table. He was telling our parents about a difficult class he had. He said I was really stuck on a problem, but then I talked to Tom. He helped me see it in a whole new way. My parents both turned their heads and looked at me with a new kind of interest. "Really?" my mother said with a warm and genuine smile. "That's wonderful, Tom." It was such a small and simple moment, but for me, in that quiet instant, it meant everything. I was no longer a footnote. I was now a part of the main story. I looked at my brother across the table, and he gave me a small, secret smile. A smile that said we had a bond now, a bond that no one else could understand. I realized I did not need to be the sun, and I was not the moon anymore either. We were just two brothers, each with our own kind of light, shining together. My old resentment was completely gone. It had been replaced by a strong and solid connection. I had not outshined my brother. I had simply become his ally. I had found my real place in the family, not by standing in the spotlight, but by being willing to help someone I loved when they were lost and alone in the dark. It's a good way to practice English every day. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories.